Good morning and welcome to Saturday's edition of the News Report. To present it, my name is SALIFYANJI BWEUPE. Thank you for watching us right now and for tuning in. And you're watching us on your Top Star channel 112, as well as our Facebook live feed that is Live TV, and our YouTube channel that is Live TV channel as well. If you have any comments and contributions towards the show, send your messages to 0976 599 547. The number is scrolling on your screen, and we would like to hear feedback from you, our viewers. We'll get into the leading stories for this morning. Health Minister tasks new medical stores limited board, and business survey report launched. Many holiday destinations get green light after days of confusion. That's a report from BBC. To get into the details of the news, the Health Minister, Dr. Chitaloi Chilufya, has encouraged the new Medical Stores Limited Board of Directors to clamp down pilferage of medicines. Dr. Chilufya says if the scourge is allowed, it may deny many Zambians from accessing medicine against the principles of the Patriotic Front government, which believes in universal health care. He says that women from Shangombo and other areas need to access this medicine so that there's need for the medicine to be safeguarded, he mentioned. He said sustainable development hinges on health and productive workforce, promoting government to place more investment in the health of the Zambian population. He added that this will help attain a healthy workforce to drive the socio-economic development agenda. Dr. Chilufya was speaking when he unveiled the new Medical Stores Limited Board of Directors on Friday in Lusaka. Investing in health systems repositioning to ensure that we aspire for universal health coverage is our target. Health for everyone, health for all is a target that government has set, he added. Investing in health system also recognizes the need to address the fundamental clock known as supply chain of medicines and medical supplies. The new Board of Directors will comprise of Mrs. Kalubelwa Mulalelo, Mr. James Kapesa as the Vice President, Mr. Mulenga Mulemba as a member, Mr. Zuba Dasu as a member, Mr. Malon Banda a member, and Mrs. Lizzie Mukwasa a member as well, Mrs. Mwenye Walia a member, and Mr. Avin Muvende. So this is the first story for this episode of the news report. Before we dissect this particular story, we will go on a break, and when we come back, we are joined by a very special guest, and we are talking about youth empowerment and financial discipline. So we'll be joined by a financial analyst as well as a financial accountant and analyst. So his name is Moses NONDE. We'll be talking to him soon after the break. welcome back and welcome if you're just joining us right now and you're watching us on your Top Star channel 112 as well as our Facebook live feed that is a live TV. So we have a guest in the studio and his name is Mr. Moses NONDE, and we're talking about youth empowerment and financial discipline. Moses, welcome to News Report.
Well, good morning and welcome.
Thank you for coming through this early morning. I know it's cold these days, so thank you for taking the time.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we get into the interview, I just want to find out, can you please shed more light on your passion and analytical point or interest?
Okay, so to begin with, my name is Moses NONDE and an analyst as well as a finance consultant. Yeah, actually, I just retired from corporate world this year to pursue my passion, which is business actually. I was in the corporate world for the last 10 years and actually also worked for about 11 companies actually before I retired.
Wow.
So I do a lot of analysis, economic analysis, social analysis, and as well as a little bit of political analysis. So I'm a full-time businessman now.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about management and financial freedom as well, in line with having and utilizing money, because obviously there's a difference between me having money and utilizing that money. And I want to find out, or our viewers would like to find out, how can one achieve the financial freedom and also invest wisely?
Okay. To begin with, having access to money is a process actually. So there are some methods that an individual can have access to money. So number one, most of the common one is again for employment. So which means that you need to have a job, you need to get a salary, you need to be a salaried person to have financial capacity. And then secondly, it's either you have to start a business. Okay, and for you to start a business, obviously you have to raise the money. You can raise money in different ways, just by using your skill and your ability. People can pay you for that, and that means that you're going to have financial freedom. Now, even after you're having money, even after obtaining money, money needs to grow. At the end of the day, you have to increase your revenue streams by making sure that you invest wisely and you make very, very good investment that you can have return on investment. It's not just about starting about any business. You have to analyze it thoroughly to ensure that this business will be profitable, actually.
Sure.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what are the biggest challenges that stand in the way of young people when it comes to acquiring and managing of resources? Do you think most people are lazy or they lack the financial discipline?
Okay, I would say, I can't say most young people are lazy. Of course, there are very few. There are also people that are naturally lazy.
So we can still call a spade a spade.
We can still call a spade a spade. Exactly. There are some people. There are some young people that are lazy. They don't want to work hard. Actually, they just want to receive everything on the silver platter. So for them, that's an hindrance to even to have a financial freedom. In their already their attitudes or mentality is an hindrance to them. So they cannot have that financial muscle. Sure. Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Now, recently, I'm sure you're aware there was a protest that was held by the youth in a very unexpected area. That is the bush. But the point is, their voices were heard, and many people got to look at or watch that protest as well. So the response from the president himself was to give 30 million towards the youth. So how do you think that money should be, utilized? How well do you think that money should be utilized, and how well can it benefit the young people as well? Okay. I know I've caught you off guard on this one, but I just need your...
Okay. First of all, I think that was a noble gesture, right? The president to give the young people the money, that's 30 million, for as part of the empowerment process. Although I understand that it came out as a result of the process that they had done. Okay. Now, abruptly that did come, but we have to, first of all, we have to stress the part that was this empowerment fund well analyzed or well thought about to see will this money be used for intended purposes. You see, it's different to, there are two different things. Having money and having the capacity or ability to utilize that particular money. You see, you and I today, we can be given 100 million each, but if we don't have the use or the intended purposes for it, I'm telling you, it's either you're going to squander or I'm going to squander, or I'm going to invest it wisely and use it productively. But at the same time, this is a situation whereby you can have money and then you get confused about what to use or what to do with it.
Sure.
Or are you impressing a certain sector of the society or certain people? Or are you calming them or are you stopping them? But the intention is very good.
Sure.
The intention is very good. But look at the result. We have to wait about the results.
Okay. So there should have been a business proposal in place, and then the money needed to be given according to what the business should have been in that case, because there's no clarity. Because the concern is, what is this money going to be used for? Who benefits from this money, and how is it going to be utilized? I think those are the questions that most people would have towards this particular money that was awarded to the youth.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, as the money was being released, they would have at least a process, actually, even the proposals.
Yeah.
Of course, the money, the 50 million is there.
Exactly.
Now they have to also, I recommend, that's just my proposal to say that there must have been business plans or proposals of what they're going to do with the money as they receive the money.
Sure.
And we hear that most of this, the beneficiary will be the artists, the musicians, for the same. So what is it that they're going to do with the money so that they hear as before they even receive this particular money? Otherwise, the intention, that's a very good and noble gesture to give them the money, actually.
Okay. But do you think it's fair, considering that it's only being awarded to the artists? What about the young people at large? Because for some time, maybe close to 5 years, the Youth Empowerment Fund has not, been put in place for quite a while.
Okay.
Shouldn't it have benefited both sides, the artists themselves, or it should have just been given generally to the young people?
First of all, it's this 30 million. If you look at the 30 million, it's not. It's just a fair amount. It's not really a huge amount that can benefit the 4.8 million people, because right now we have about almost 5 million of young youths between the age of 15 to 35, and this 30 million, it's I would say it's not really enough, but at least it's a step in the right direction to see where do we start from.
Yeah.
Okay, and then to start from this, normally the artists or the musicians, for quite some time they've been marginalized a little bit, especially with the way they conduct their things and all that, and they've also face some challenges along the way in how they come up with these things. You see, they have to pay for the booking studios, recording of those things,
especially
and all
now
that.
because we have the COVID, going on, pandemic going on. So there's a bit of
they
challenge.
can't perform, they can't hold functions and everything. Yes.
Okay. So now, what can be done to mitigate financial responsibility amongst young people? I would work, probably earn a certain amount of money, but I will might misuse that money. So how can we mitigate that and make sure young people are more responsible?
Okay. First of all, you see, I've always talked about to say that a salary cannot automatically make you rich and successful. And it's a misleading mentality for a lot of people to say, once I start gaining a salary, then my life changes.
Sure.
Of course, your life changes because now you'll be able to pay your bills. And that means rent
and
transport, and food. And so you find that most of the times, because of lack of financial literacy or financial analysis, most of the people would just end up working 8 to 17, just working for rent, transport, and food without anything. Today, if there were, anything happens, let's say the contract is terminated or they lose their job, everything shatters, you see, because we have a poor saving culture. So for us to have good financial responsibility, saving, we really need to, as young people, actually, saving is a must. Actually, we should just inculcate this. Even as parents and guardians, they must make sure that young people or the children just in homes, they know the value, they understand the importance of saving, because saving really does help. Imagine even little saving as little as 1 kwacha, a coin every day. You find that by the end of the year, come December, you'll have about over 65 kwacha or 360 kwacha, which is, quite considerably. You know, sometimes there's this issue, there's this mentality now we have to call everyone as fake friend, you see, just because they cannot give you money. That you're looking at, if you look at your seven abilities of the poor saving culture there. So saving is number one. It must be overemphasized. A lot of people have started and done big projects through saving. You see, if you have a project in mind and you need to say, this is the amount of money, I need 10,000 at the end of the day, at the end of the year, you start saving in advance. So that means that your financial literacy is being improved, actually, from that. And then we have thought of various kind of savings. You see, right now, people practice Ichilimba, village banking, and all that.
Okay.
So, and then one other thing as well. For me, I believe to say that if you're in employment, your expenses or your cost of expense should be 30% below your income. So meaning that if you earn maybe 5,000 kwacha, I believe that if you streamline that your spendings or your costs are just within 30%, which is 1.5, I think you are on a right developmental path towards financial freedom. You see, because
can you manage your rent and your food and
this is
transport
what I'm saying. Actually, look at a scenario whereby you're a single person. Actually, you see, you are getting a 5,000 kwacha. Then you go and rent a house for 2,500 kwacha. Is that really fair? That's almost 50% of your salary. How would you improve yourself now? See, you are getting a salary. For example, I'm just giving an example. So this is a part of financial analysis. For example, your salary or your income is 3,000 kwacha. Your workplace is in Woodlands, and then you decide to stay in Charleston. You see, so you're just spending, your transport cost is very high. You're just spending almost 40% or 30% of your salary on transport, you see. And at the end of the day, after working for 5 years, you become depressed. You say, there's nothing. When you look at yourself, you analyze yourself, to say, what have I achieved? I've been working for the last 5 years. Nothing. Maybe if you're lucky, a motor vehicle, you see, which is, yes, it's a good thing, but you see, you know what I really mean.
Sure thing. So if you're just joining us right now, we're talking to Moses NONDE. We're talking about youth empowerment and financial discipline or financial freedom as well. Now, you mentioned two items from what you just said. So that's entrepreneurship and also saving. I would like to believe when it comes to saving, maybe people need to understand the cause. If I want to save and I'm only saving to probably buy a car, am I doing the right thing to save for that car? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Am I saving for one thing, or I'm saving for the unforeseen circumstances as well? And when it comes to entrepreneurship, one might argue to say not everyone is an entrepreneur. So then again, how do you succeed in still making it and attaining that discipline that you need to attain, or freedom?
Okay, and saving, you save for various reasons, actually. Yes, of course, you have a project, maybe you want to build a house, so you can save money for that. Maybe you want just to buy a plot, you can save money, or a vehicle, or exactly even for unforeseen circumstances. You see, at least why I'm saying so that we should prepare for unforeseen circumstances, things that we do not expect, because things happen, you see. You can get sick anytime, you see. At least you should have that money put aside. Maybe separate in a bank account or something like that, so that when that unforeseen circumstance happens, you're able to utilize that money. At least it can help. A little goes a long way. Yes. And concerning the entrepreneurship, I would say not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Not everyone is gifted into that area.
Okay. So now when it comes to insurance also, we've talked about the unforeseen. So this could be where you get sick and you probably need some medical attention. Would you encourage people to actually have medical insurance put in place for them as well, so that they cut down on certain costs?
Exactly, and medical insurance is very good and it's very cardinal, and it's only that. But if you look at the Zambia situation currently, medical insurance schemes is mostly offered by the employers.
Yeah,
actually,
sure.
we don't have that that age to have it in as private in private capacity as an individual to say, okay, let me have this insurance, medical insurance, so that in case anything happens, at least they are well taken care of.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay. So how can young people determine where to invest their time, money, and effort as well?
Okay, first of all, you know, every young person, I believe, must have dreams, goals, and ambitions. Actually, so when you have set goals in your life, you'd strive to work hard and towards achieving those goals that you have set. Actually, so meaning that if my goal is to, for example, purchase a car, I'm working towards that. What do I need in place? You see, what would be my lifestyle before I buy a car? Am I going to obtain a loan? You see, I should also think about that thing. And if I'm going to obtain a loan, how will I repay the loan? So I have to calculate even all the risks involved, and how now I'm going to raise the money. And of course, you need also young people, like us young people, we should spend much of our time on productive things. You see, productive things that will enhance our capacities and abilities to be responsible, to grow up into responsible adults. If we spend so much time on social things and social life, I'm afraid that we're not going to attain even the financial freedom that we're talking about. If, for example, we are always chilling around, we're always, having fun is nice, it's very important, but when you overdo it, it becomes dangerous, actually.
Yeah.
So we work towards our dreams and our passions of what we want, and we should engage ourselves in either productive debates, or we should be inspired by the people that have done it before. You see, so for example, if you are planning to build a house, for example, as a young person, I'm sure I'm not going to spend a lot of time with people that, for example, that are doing things that are contrary to what you aspire to do. So you'll be found with people in construction, you'll be asking, you'll be inquisitive about what happens here, what are stages there, what are the challenges that they face, the people, the builders and everything. You'll be engaged in two groups that talk about buildings and all that. So that's where we should invest our time. And also on learning financial literacy skills, by learning too much things about enhancing your life, your goals, how you can achieve your dreams. Yes, but if we spend much time on social media, on Facebook, which is good, we're talking about sex and beer drinking, I'm afraid that's a dangerous path.
Okay, well understood. So now we talked about business not being for everyone, but obviously everyone needs to have something to fall back on. What about the people that are unable, don't have the capacity to actually build their own businesses? How would you go about advising them so that they're at least stable and have that financial freedom as well?
Okay.
Because we can't just throw them to on the curb and say no, just because they cannot run a business, and we leave them to be like that. But how can they involve themselves, and how can they get themselves to a place where they're at least comfortable and have saved enough to get them somewhere?
Exactly. Much that business is not for everyone, but even those people, they also need some form of empowerment and sort. So meaning that you can also tap skills for them. They should also now obtain skills, you see, to assist those people, to assist even the entrepreneurs already on the block. So meaning that if they have those skills, for example, I would say maybe you're a journalist, isn't it? Okay, and maybe you don't want to run a business. You are just those people in the business already, the entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs already. You see, market them. I mean, their products and everything. By that, even them, they're also growing. And I'm sure also you'll be part, as you are part of that growth. You also have to gain something at the end of the day. Yes.
Because then again, when you look at some apps that were or have been created that we have right now, you'd find that the people that I could have an idea and I don't have the capacity to code or create any app. So I can come to you and say, this is my idea and this is what I want to do. Then we collaborate and we exchange and share ideas just like that. So in the same way, I think apart from, I think making it in life, so to say, is not only about having the finance. Sometimes it's about having, the mind to actually think ahead and create business ideas as well. It's unfortunate that I don't know if we have any companies or any people that actually buy into ideas, because that's one other area I think that we should work on, because I feel there are a lot of young people there that have ideas but they don't know where to take them or how to go about working them out or having them work for them or getting money out of those business ideas as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so what challenges does an entrepreneur present, and how can one steer clear of these challenges?
Which ones?
When it comes to being an entrepreneur, so you have your business and then maybe you hit a roadblock and things do not work out as you might have wanted them to work out. So we're talking about the challenges of being an entrepreneur and how to make it, after having hit a pothole or a wall.
Okay. Okay. And number one challenge that entrepreneurs face, that we face mostly is cash flow management.
Okay.
Yes. So in line of cash flow management, it's just how to manage the cash that you have. So this creates an hindrance. So you might have a business which is running very effectively, but you don't have the cash at the end of the day. You see, it's mostly that the cash is held up by debtors, you see. So in that one, there must be clear budgeting and planning, very much. So an entrepreneur should know how to budget properly. You see, if you are invoicing clients, for example, an entrepreneur should make sure that they invoice them timely, so that at least they're able to predict correction periods. Because you might have a business, you have supplied something to a client, and then it takes about 90 days or 60 months, you see, even 2 years just to get that money. But, that means they have affected your cash flows.
Exactly.
You have maybe 2 or 3 employees, you cannot pay them. You have the money, but the money is not coming, you see. So planning is much, much, much important. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And maybe just to touch on the issue too of doing with when you're an entrepreneur, should you specialize in one thing or you diversify, your ideas and your investments as well? What would you advise?
Okay, on that one, there are a lot of narratives towards that, and some sections they argue to say no. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you just have to stick to one thing, one core business, and then I support that one in the sense that what you know better. It's good to succeed in something that you are very much specialized in, because you know the know-hows, the don'ts, and the do's in the game, because you are much specialized. You see, it's like you was trained as a journalist. Now you also want to be everything now in everywhere. Of course, somewhere you're going to face roadblocks there, because you cannot. You also want to be an accountant at the same time. So, but for me, my personal opinion is that. I think if you try one thing and doesn't work, you have to try another thing. So meaning diversification is also very important, because we live in a high-tech world. Things keep on changing. You see, now we are now in the heights of technology. Everything's on technology. Everything's on phone. Most of the things are now simplified and easy. So we also need to change also the business tactics, and that you can one might involve themselves in. I think from when I started money lending, selling money. You see, from there, I think it was not even too much common. That was 2010, and I made some money. Of course, I think within 8 months of starting, and I was very, very young. I think around 21 years or so. Within the first 8 months, I'd made about 30,000 kwacha. You see, and after that, the business started getting flooding, and then you have defaulters and everything. So I quickly changed my style to say, oh, let me now go to do some other things as well. You see, I diverted to another thing. And also, it's important also to keep streams of investment at the end of the day. And then at the end of the day, when I say, oh, what is happening now in Lusaka? Everywhere is building. Quickly I invested, let me go back, let me invest now in building. Now started with plots. So from there again, I changed my style. Now let me also incorporate with the transport. So you've seen to see that it's also important to have those different kinds of business streams, because some fade away with time, you see. And transport business was doing very fine some way back, but not the same today. You see, people have purchased vehicles, people, so that's how it is. Yes.
So it's about learning the times and the seasons as well. I just wanted to also find out, we already talked about the empowerment fund that the government has released. Now, I wanted to find out, how can young people efficiently utilize and not misuse these funds? What sort of structures be put in place so that the government is able to ensure from both ends there's some accountability as well towards the using of these funds?
Okay, so first of all, on the part of the young people, it is very important, first of all, that they have mentors or coaches, yes, so that they are able to advise them properly on the proper use of money. You see, like we had started to say that you can have money, but you have no idea. It's like you can have you can have an idea, but you don't have money, so it won't work. You see, I can have money, I don't have idea. I'm equally stuck, you see. So we need some people, you need someone now to spur us, to push us into that development path by coaching us, by mentoring us, you see. And then also have, also young people must, we should really invest much in skills development, you see. We need to tap some skills, you see. It's not just about getting to school, getting a certificate, a diploma, a degree, and then you feel like, well, I'm educated enough, I'm able to understand this, therefore I can run business. It doesn't work out like that, because you need some certain skills, you need some certain competencies that you should possess in order to effectively learn and utilize even when you're the funds that you get empowered to. Yes, and also we should really invest time in talent identification, tapping up of a talent. People have natural abilities to do certain things. What you are good at might not be good in that particular area. So you should also identify our strengths. You see, when I remember, I think in 2016, my friends developed an app. They were IT guys actually. So we can do this. It was a very good business, but they lacked the financial side. You see, how to interpret figures, how to do budgeting, how to do the cash flow projection. You see, you can be in business, but you just realize that you are just a turnover, just making sales, but you're not making profit because your expense may be very high, because you don't understand maybe basic accounting or basic business. So therefore, you must be cooperation. You must have people with different skills. See, so that's what basically that we should look at. Yes.
Okay, and I would also like to think when it comes to young people, especially maybe from primary schools, to do with the curriculum itself, we have the guidance teachers and career. Yes, I think that it would really be of benefit if they also play a role in identifying strengths of young kids whilst they're still in school, so when they grow up, at least they'll grow into that talent. I think times and seasons have changed now. Exactly. It's not where you want to open up a salon and someone would be against it. It's not somewhere where you want to be a professional football player, and someone would say, no, you can't do that anymore, because whichever way you look at it, it's something that can earn you, that financial stability and whatnot. And also the fact that you only get to learn financial management when you're actually working and not really whilst you are in school. Yes, we do learn accounts and bookkeeping, but it's only about calculating what and what. But I feel like there still needs to be an emphasis on how young people or kids can grow up, having that financial, knowledge of how they can handle funds. If the task is to save up maybe a 10 kwacha during the week from a work or a chore they've done at home, then I think those are the things that young people should also get to be taught in school. Yeah, maybe that's the only way that when you grow up you would have that knowledge also. It will stick with you.
Yes, I agree. I agree to some level. Yeah. That there must be. We need to do a lot actually, even at primary school level and secondary school level. But the biggest challenge towards that, must that you can inculcate that financial discipline in young people, but who's doing it? You see, are the teachers themselves? All the teachers, they are financially disciplined? Do they understand? Are they practicing prudent financial management? You see, it can only take somebody who's been into that particular thing, who's more special, who has really hands-on experience to pass on the information, on the knowledge to the learners, to the young people. This is what I'm saying.
So I feel instead of having to talk to people that are only on like Facebook or where you have viewers watching or tuned in today, I think also it has to be a social responsibility. I won't say corporate because it's a social personal responsibility to actually share your skill and knowledge to the young people as well. And maybe then we'll be able to share enough and have people attain some freedoms and knowledge about a lot of things when it comes to a school. I feel that in as much as, there's a parent side and there's also the teacher side, where parents would expect the teachers to teach their children everything. But then again, the responsibility also is on the parents. That's why there's homework, so that they can, do their work from home and have parents also being involved in their work.
Exactly. Let me just chip in there. Exactly on the parent side. You see, if the children are growing up, what they see when Zangena, the parents have received the salary. Yeah. You see the parents running towards the clubs or the bars to buy beers, buy what, you see. So the children also grow up thinking to say, whenever you have money, the thing that you have to, entertainment must come first, you see. So if the children are growing up to see when the father gets paid, that's all, they go, they go, you see. So even them, they grow up like that. And I've argued the concept of saying that we will have like mandatory entrepreneurship in schools, whereby children need to learn. The intention is good, but how do you implement that? You see, first of all, when you have the teachers, the same teachers.
But why give up before you even try?
We've no, but we're looking at it on the design stage. Sure. Most of the times we think what we're doing is good. We have got good intention for something, but because we have not just factored out some small factors, and it fails, you see. So you find that you have business teachers, you see? They are teaching you business. They've never run any single business. A lecturer does not even have a small cantemba, but is lecturing now to run a business, you see. So there's no practical part about it. Of course, the theories are important. That is why I'm emphasizing, say, we need also people that have done that before. So, for example, in schools, you invite these people, the business people that are already doing business, the young people also, the entrepreneurs, and even the business giants. They give lectures, they teach them, because then they are speaking from practical part of it, you see, other than people who's simplifying reality, you see.
Yeah.
That's really my feel.
Okay. No, I do understand. There's a lot of work to be done, but I think it should begin now. We can see how we can work around it, and maybe this is a challenge also to the lecturers or teachers that are teaching these particular subjects, to say they need to be proactive also and lead by example. How do you teach something that you've never really experienced? So experience is the best teacher, and it's the only way that you are able to talk to me right now, because you've been through it.
Exactly.
So I do understand.
Yeah, exactly. It's like telling you are teaching me now how to hunt in the forest. when you've never been in the forest before.
Although I'll tell you to say, just take Panadol or whatever medicine that you need without actually knowing how.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyway, so now when it comes to like opportunities from the government, what other opportunities should the government give to young people away from just being able to just provide funds to try to make everything go away, because that won't make everything go away. But what other opportunities can the government come up with also for the young people?
Okay, as for, first of all, we lack, much that we have a lot of skills development centers, but we do not have quite many that can sustain to the needs of the young people. So you have like the government like must come up with deliberate policy. You have youth endeavor, youth engagement, whereby now young people now are sharing ideas. It could be business or anything. Particularly when you engage the young people a lot more, you see, you are able to understand their needs and their views. Like for example, even this youth empowerment, you find that the people that are doing the design, most of the times, the people that are doing the design and coming up with these policies, they're even old people. Now these old people are thinking about what the young people are thinking. So without engaging them fully, you see, to say, okay, let's just do these things and then it will work. And then the problem of youth unemployment, youth what, will go away without fully engaging and the participation of young people. Because first of all, the young people, we know our needs to see what do we need. It's just particular guidance. And that is why I said it's mandatory if they can include mentorship program as mandatory in schools, in school curriculum, so that young people are mentored from the way to go by people who have been there, by old people, you see. They mentor them on how to live life. Currently, the situation of young people that we are only getting our ideas from our fellow peers, you see, which is almost like peer pressure, but in kind that we're only engaging with our fellow young people. We are advising each other. We've never made mistakes before, but if we go to the people that have made mistakes before, we are well much acquainted, and we are guaranteed of proper guidance.
And gone are the days when parents think they know better about what young people need than young people themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you just join us right now, we're talking to Moses Nonde, and we're talking about youth empowerment and financial discipline as well. So Moses, what can young people do if they would like to become financially responsible and literate?
Okay, like what we had mentioned that one thing is...
and does the literacy always come at a fee? Maybe the fear is I might need to pay something to actually get that knowledge.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they charge them. And then sometimes these things are just for free. Then sometimes, whenever you want something, you go about it by finding. Sometimes researching more on financial management, prudent financial management. You can read books. You can research on those things. Those things are free. We have got smartphones now. You can understand how best can I manage my salary. You see.
Yeah.
Or that what's the best way of saving. And the number one thing about being financially responsible is to know how to spend money. You see, like I'd mentioned, I'd say the first thing actually that you buy whenever you receive money, it's either whenever you get paid or whenever someone gives you money, the first item that you're going to buy will determine your priorities in life, whether you're going to be financially responsible or not. If for the first time you receive the money, the only thing that you think about is temptation goods, the only thing that you think about is just spending, then that's very dangerous card for you.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So before we end this interview, I just wanted to get your advice to young people, and also what they can do when they're starting out as entrepreneurs. What is the know-how that they need to, have with them before they engage in any business activity?
Okay, first of all, every business is a risk. And since every business is a risk, there must be needs to hedge the risk. Okay, it's not really advisable For example, you have got 10,000 today. You invest all 10,000 in a business. Remember, it's a 50-50 game. You can lose the whole 10,000, get depressed and get stressed. You see, but now when you hedge the risk, there at least you are catered. You can lose part of the money. You can lose 5,000, and then when you push in 5,000. Then you see if the business is growing or how it is responding. Again, you start to reinvest. Exactly. And then starting out first as young people, they must really identify their areas of strength. What is it that are gifted naturally? Yes. You see? And then when they identify their potential, they're able now to streamline their potential and abilities, harness them into a business that they would want to start. Right. You see, it's just something that flows natural to some people, especially the people who are too much in business, that they think that I can manage this thing. You know, just something that you're good at, actually. That is the advice I can give to say, you don't need to start because everyone is doing it. Everyone is opening a barber shop, then you have to open a barber shop. Everyone is opening a cantemba, then you have to open a cantemba. Sure. You see, this thing of ESA, whereby there's money here. You see, we had recently, I think we had in the past, we say, tomato business is the thing. You see, everyone is growing tomatoes. There's money in tomatoes, and everyone started growing tomatoes. And then the prices, they were down and everything, and people got depressed because the only thing they banked on was the tomato business. Of course, farming is very important, but you really need to understand that to everything there are a lot of challenges and obstacles, but that should not stop somebody from venturing into that. I think it's the resilience, and you have to have you have to have appetite for hard work, and then hard work is the only key. You need to sacrifice your efforts and your abilities to attain your goals. At the end of the day, that's your dream, you see, and you really need to believe in yourself. And people will always be talking, you see, and you have critics every now and then. Whenever you try to start something else, people will be criticizing, but it's about you to pull yourself up so that you achieve your dream.
Exactly. Thank you so much for that, Moses. Just one item before you go. How can people get in touch with you in case they are interested in having that financial freedom as well?
Okay, yes. So, actually, my Facebook account is Moses Nonde Sambaombe, and there's also a page, actually, as Moses Nonde Sambaombe, the analyst, actually. You can get in touch on those online. And I'm also a free person, actually. Sure. I also give my number, actually, yes. So my number is 0979 095 600.
Okay. All right. We have a message from our viewers. So this particular message is coming from Musonda. And Musonda is saying, does our universities model entrepreneurs in non-business courses? I think they're trying to find out if the university focuses on entrepreneurs also. Like, do they give entrepreneurship programs? Yeah, I think it's talking about, do they model entrepreneurs? Yeah.
Some they do, actually, and then some is just out of interest. Some lecturers would they inculcate entrepreneurship skills in students, actually, in universities. You see, especially those lecturers or the tutors that have got ideas or information in entrepreneurs. Because if you look at Musonda, she's saying that, do they also model in non-business courses? Entrepreneurship is not only about business courses. You see, there's this is a misleading mentality whereby to say only the people that are studying business courses, the business programs are best suited for entrepreneurship. No, everyone. You see, much that entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but it's something that is inborn, something that is in you. You see,
everyone
some people
has got
as a skill. You see, entrepreneurship, like for example, in grade 1, if you just grade 1 pupils, you'll be like they are 7 years old, 8 years old, but you find that one kid is selling pesos to the fellow kids. You see, that's entrepreneurship. It starts from there. You see, that when you tap that talent, you see, like those people will be good entrepreneurs.
Sure thing. Anyway, Mswanda, Mswanda now. I'm sorry, Moses. So, Mswanda, thank you so much for that particular message. If any one of our viewers also has a comment or contribution, please send your messages to 0976 599 547 as well. It has been an honor and a pleasure to have you this morning in the studio. So we'll go on a break and we'll come back with more news.
Thank you so much.
Good morning and welcome back. If you are just joining in, you are watching News Report with me, SALIFYANJI BWEUPE. And before the break, we had an interview with an analyst and financial advisor, and that is Moses Nonde, who took time to come into the studio to talk about financial discipline and youth empowerment as well. We'll go through the leading stories for this morning again for those that might have missed out on them. So the Health Minister tasks New Medical Stores Limited Board and Business Survey report launched. Many holiday destinations get green light after days of confusion. This is a news item coming from BBC News. So in the first story, Dr. Chitalo Chilufya, who is the Health Minister, encouraged the New Medical Stores Limited of Board of Directors to clamp down pilferage of medicines. So Mr. Chilufya, or Dr. Chilufya, was making an emphasis to Medical Stores Limited upon officiating or unveiling the New Medical Stores Limited Board of Directors on Friday that medicines need to be made more accessible. So he says that women from Shangombo and other areas need to access this medicine. So there's need for the medicine to be safeguarded as well. And yes, they have been challenges here and there in hospitals and clinics where there is no particular medicine that a patient needs, and they're advised to go to the chemist to get that drug as well. So I do understand the point that the minister is making as well. And when it comes to rural areas as well, every kind of medicine needs to be made available for the people in that particular area. Into our next story, Smart Eagles reports that Lusaka District Commissioner David Siluvanje says the government attaches great importance to the arts and culture sector, not only in Lusaka, but Zambia as a whole. Speaking when he undertook visits to some selected cultural centers in Lusaka, Mr. Siluvanje said the government will continue to render support to artists, as witnessed by President Edgar Lungu's approval of the 30 million empowerment package. He says artists play a critical role in shaping the moral fiber in communities through various artistic displays. He since advised artists to take advantage of the 30 million package by coming up with various innovative ideas. Government is committed to help the art industry. That is why His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu approved the 30 million empowerment fund for artists. Artists play a critical role in shaping the moral fiber in society. That is why the government will continue to render support to them, Mr. SALIFYANJI said. And Chota Dance Group founder William Ovunda appealed to the government to simplify the mode of applying for the funds set aside for the artists. He said in its current form, rural-based artists are finding it difficult to apply for the funds due to the complex application model. We are appealing to the government to simplify the process of applying for the funds set aside for the artists in the country. Artists based in rural areas will find it difficult to apply for the funds because some of them are not conversant with the English and the way the forms are drafted. And this is what Mr. Vunda said. On this particular story, I want to really side with Mr. Vunda when it comes to accessing of the Youth Empowerment Fund. In this case, the 30 million that has been given to artists as well. And the current setup when it comes to most of the institution is that, the documents that you get or that you need to sign are all in English, and not so many people understand that as well. So let's take, for instance, someone is mediating between, someone that is unable to understand, read English, and they, put in a clause that is not particular there. So it comes now down to how, credible, how honest is that person going to be towards relating that or relaying that information that is in whichever report or document as well. So there has to be need for the government or any department whatsoever to incorporate local languages also in the forms that people need to sign, so that they're able to understand what they are signing into and what they will benefit from there as well. The same way when it comes to people that are blind. So when it comes to Braille as well, I think that also needs to be looked into for the people as well. So also when it comes to this particular fund as well, the concern, yes, is mostly towards how it's going to be used or disbursed in this particular instance as well. I think there still needs to be a lot of dialogue, and people need to be given, a report on how everything is working from start to finish. And as much as it's only one sector that has been given this amount of money when it comes to empowering them, and this is in line with tourism and arts as well, I should think that now is the time, if this money has been made available, to now start looking into projects that will benefit the young people as well. And please, let's try by all means not to really politicize this move, because this is one thing that the government has, done and wants to do for the young people as well. So come up with good ideas, whether you are an artist, whether you either sing, you are in drama, you are a painter. Come up with ideas that are going to be sustainable as well, and also invest in some entrepreneurial or skills or mentorship knowledge as well, so that there's really production going on in each and every area as well. Now into the next story, government has launched the business survey report on the impact of COVID-19 on Zambia enterprises. The report is meant to provide evidence-based data to ensure necessary policy formulation to mitigate the socio-economic impact of the pandemic. Commerce, Trade and Industry Minister Christopher Iloma says the report will help government put in place necessary measures to help drive the economy and provide support towards economic recovery during the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Iloma has also reiterated government's commitment to support private sector players to keep the wheels of the economy running. He says 71% of the total responding enterprises countrywide indicated that they were partially closed, while 14% were totally closed and only 15% maintained normal operations. Mr. Yaloma said despite the challenges, the survey has indicated that the majority of enterprises are determined to continue their operations but adhering to the new normal requirement. Through accelerating technological products and services innovation, he says government has already started implementing various measures such as issuance of COVID-19 bond amounting to 8 billion kwacha, and ensuring that locally produced goods are on the shelves in leading chain stores in the country. Mr. Eluma thanked the United Nations Development Programme for the financial and technical support rendered to the government to undertake the business survey. Meanwhile, UNDP resident representative Lionel Lawrence said the United Nations supports the multi-sector contingency response plan and recovery efforts the government of Zambia is putting in place. He said the United Nations in Zambia and the UNDP in particular is ready to assist in identifying committed technical and financial partners to join efforts to mobilize the required expertise and financial resources in order to design and implement some critical recommendations of their report. I really don't have much to say pertaining to this particular story, but for me, I think we should need to get to a point where when we have any investor come in also, or any support to help from other countries, we need to get to a point where we accept more than just financial support, but we get to a point where now we have the technical knowledge, for lack of a better term, to actually know how to handle our finances as well. It's not enough to just receive money and not know how to, go about utilizing those funds, because then again, at the end of the day, we need all those checks and balances to be in place as well. We're talking about accountability, we're talking about credibility in each and every sector, of the country as well. So I hope the government is also open to just receiving, people that are going to advise and also mentor us, or mentor the country, or every department in every government parastatal, to just handle the financial, especially finances being very sensitive, the financial aspect, of the company, in a very accountable and responsible manner as well. So when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic, we know with the new normal, a lot of new ideas need to be built, incorporated also, and everyone has to align themselves in how they can go about still producing as they should and more for their business as well. We can't afford to just sit back and wait for this pandemic to go away, because it might not go away. So then what happens? So if anything, I think financial advice is very, very important in this case as well. We will take a break and we'll come back with more news after this. Thank you. You are still watching News Report. If you're just joining us right now, you've missed quite a bit, but please stay tuned as we still have more stories to actually look at. So we're looking at a particular story to do with the challenges of COVID-19 and how the government has released a stimulus package also to ensure there's a local production as well, and that goods are on the shelves in leading chain stores in the country as well. I just have one more thing to really add to this particular story, and this is pertaining to one industry that has really been facing a lot of challenges when it comes to easing on the lockdown, and that is to do with bars and nightclubs as well. I know this is a story that we've been talking about. It's a story that we've had the SG himself come on and talk about ways in which the government can come in and help them set up during this time where bars and nightclubs have been closed as well. And I did notice to say that some two clubs, or is it nightclubs and restaurants, also announced that they might be closing as well until there's been an ease or a lift has been put in place over the operation of the restaurants and the bar as well. And I would like to agree that the one thing that would also help the bars and nightclubs is where there should have been a stimulus package also put in place. So if the government is unable to actually open up the bars and nightclubs at this particular point, there should have been something that should have been given to the owners as well, so that there's continuity, or they get to pay their debtors and pay their workers as well. Instead of them having to stay at home, they could actually give them a little something whilst they're waiting for the ease or the lift on the lockdown that has been given as well. Then you have issues to do with rent. Rent needs to be paid. I don't know if the landlords will understand to say this is what's going on, and the nightclubs or bars cannot operate as usual. But there should be something where the government can meet the bars and nightclub owners also halfway to see how they can motivate them, encourage them, empower them, also give them a stimulus package that they can also be able to work with as well. So we're getting into our final story, and that is international news. So after several days of confusion, the list of around 60 countries that were exempt from quarantine rules in England have finally been published by the government. The changes will come into effect on 10th July. Spain, France, Germany, and Italy are among the countries on the list, meaning visitors from England won't have to self-isolate when they arrive there or return home. But America mainland, Portugal, and Brazil will still require travelers to quarantine for a fortnight on arrival and when returning home due to their high coronavirus infection rates. Scotland and Wales are yet to decide whether to ease their travel restrictions. Their leaders have described England's changes as shambolic. Quarantine regulations also remain in place in Northern Ireland for people arriving from outside the UK and the Republic of Ireland. We take a look at this report.
Should you or shouldn't you travel abroad? Now there is clarity that anyone heading off on the Eurotunnel won't have to quarantine in either direction.
It'll make a tremendous difference. We were over there recently, we came back and we had to quarantine for 2 weeks.
I'm going to go down to Paris today. I'm working down there, so the quarantine relaxing's big for me because obviously I'm back in work.
Soon, people arriving from 59 countries and 14 British overseas territories won't have to self-isolate, although half those countries have restrictions when you arrive there. For those desperate to sell holidays abroad, it's a rare piece of good news.
Customers that I've spoken to, they're like, oh yeah, we'd be happy just to go on a flight to Spain. It doesn't have to be that far, it's just that getting away and going on holiday that customers are wanting.
In a week's time, if you travel to low-risk European countries like Spain, Italy, France and Germany, you won't have to self-isolate in either direction. Greece is also on the list, although the Greek government won't allow UK holidaymakers in until at least July the 15th. Countries like the United States, Brazil and more controversially mainland Portugal are not on the list of exemptions. Portugal's foreign minister said that was absurd. It means Emma has cancelled her holiday.
I'm really disappointed not to be going to Portugal anymore. I was due to fly on Friday with a couple of friends to visit another friend who lives there. We go every year. And I've been tracking the news, knew there was a spike in Lisbon last week, but thought, maybe there is still a chance that we'll be able to go.
Getting the policy to this point hasn't been a smooth ride. The near blanket travel quarantine has put people off booking summer holidays. It's been deeply unpopular with struggling travel businesses. And as the government's tried to relax the quarantine, there's been real confusion.
How that's going to work.
The Prime Minister defended the way it's been handled.
We've always said that we would have a strong quarantine regime in place, and that's what we are going to have for large numbers of countries around the world, where I'm afraid the disease is still prevalent, or indeed becoming more prevalent.
But there's an added complication, because the devolved governments in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland want more time to decide if they will follow the UK government's new list of exemptions.
When so much is at stake as it is right now, we can't allow ourselves to be dragged along in the wake of another government's, to be quite frank about it, shambolic decision-making process.
Heading off to Malaga today on the first flight from Cardiff since lockdown began. Aviation companies have shed tens of thousands of jobs. A month-long blanket quarantine didn't help. Tom Burridge, BBC News.
We monitored BBC for that particular report, so we see there are some countries that have eased or have not, don't have any quarantine rules applying, so people can still travel in or travel out, and they will not really be required to self-quarantine themselves. Whilst we have other countries like America, Portugal, and Brazil that still need people to quarantine themselves for about 14 days before going out there in the public as well. And that particular story brings us to the end of today's episode of the News Report. So we take a look at the top stories that made news headlines. Health Minister tasks new Medical Stores Limited Board. Business Survey Report launched. And many holiday destinations get green light after days of confusion. That is a report from BBC. So this has been SALIFYANJI, and on behalf of the production team, that is Isaac Piri, Shatewa Kanyembo, Samson Julu, and Chumwanga Kalala, would like to say have a pleasant morning and see you on Monday.